What's up YouTube, it's your boy Nash here, welcome back to the channel, and for today's video I have an updated Sky Striker deck profile for you guys. Now I know what you guys are thinking, wait a minute, why Sky Strikers? Well, as you guys are fully aware, we got some brand new Sky Striker support, and I figured, why not give them a go and see how they operate. Truth be told, the three cards that I'm going to be talking about here in a little bit are actually pretty good, especially with all the tuners that we have in the deck. It's pretty fucking crazy. So hopefully you guys are ready for this video. If you guys are and you guys want to see more deck profiles in the future, make sure you guys smash that thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell, and follow me on all my social media. Links will be in the description below, including my Instagram, because a little later on today, sometime around possibly like maybe 2 in the afternoon or something like that, somewhere around there, I'm going to be posting the full deck list on my Instagram, so make sure you guys follow me there. Link will be in the description below, as will the info to my fan mail. If you guys want to send fan mail, all the info will be in the description as well. Let's get straight into it. This is a bit of an odd one because the last version was actually pretty nuts enough as it is. This version, absolutely crazy. I did take some cards out. I did throw in a few other cards as well, just to give it a bit, just to spice it up a little bit. But first up, obviously we have our DPE package. So we've got the one Dasher, the one Celestial, and of course the one Fusion Destiny. Obviously to go into the Destroyer Phoenix Enforcer, which is just a house on its own. Then of course we got the one copy of Surgical Striker Hamp. Obviously this is probably one of the best like 8-star like makeshift kaijus, I guess you could say, of the whole deck. But the craziest part is that you can summon this card to either your field. Oh, I guess my scrunchie broke. Oh well, I got plenty others. Anyway, that's if I can find them. They are buried somewhere in this room. They are buried somewhere. They're buried somewhere, guys. I'm trying to find them. There they are. See? I got a fuck ton of them. Now, as I was saying, Surgical Striker Hamp is actually a pretty good, is actually a pretty nutty card, because this card plus any 1-star tuner, you can easily go into a level 9, which I do have a level 9 synchro, or this card plus a 3-star tuner, which I have a few of. You can instantly go into an 11-star, which I do have as well. But you guys are wondering, what are those monsters? Trust me, you'll find out once we get into the extra deck. But still, it is a makeshift kaiju. So you could summon this to your opponent's field, and then just go into, and then just activate Widow Anchor, and you could just instantly go into your, obviously your level 9 or your level 11 synchro, which is pretty cool. Next up, obviously we got three copies of Ray. Obviously this is basically your one card link monster. Basically, you can just go into any of your links, which you can go into Hayate, Kaina, Kagare, Shizuku, or if you have another monster on board, you can also go into Zeke as well. Which is actually pretty cool. And I just realized that the brand new Sky Striker Link is actually in here as well. So I'm actually gonna add that. And I was gonna talk about it in a future video, but I mean, I might as well talk about it in today's video. So I think I will switch this up. I'm gonna switch up the side deck a little bit. Give me a second, guys. Give me 1 second. Now I gotta find something as a replacement. I guess I can go... I know. I will actually add... Yeah, I think I will do exactly that. Okay. Alright, I figured out exactly what I'm gonna do. So I'm gonna let's see. I'll throw in a Ghost Ogre into the side. If I can find the Ghost Ogre. No, come on. There we go. Okay, so finally I now have the deck officially done. I know that it'll go away eventually, but still, basically with Ray and plus any other monster, if you go into a Link 2, you can go into your Hayate, Kaina, Kagari, Shizuku, Zeke, or even also this new one, Izela, which I will talk about. I will talk about her in a little bit. And then of course Rose basically does the exact same thing, only it is not a quick effect, which is pretty hilarious. Then of course we got one copy each of the brand new Mages monsters. So first up we have Wisdom Mages Himmel. If you guys have never seen these cards before, I actually talked about them in a recent video, which you guys can definitely check out. So Himmel is a 5. So I believe Himmel and Akis are both 5-star. Sela is a 6. Himmel is a 5-star Earth Machine, 500 attack, 2500 defense, and it's always treated as a Sky Striker card. In fact, I think all 3 say that. Yeah, all 3 say that, and they all have the exact same first effect where it reads, you can discard one special summon this card from your hand. However, they each have their own second and third effects. Himmel's second effect reads when your opponent activates a card or effect that targets a Link monster you control, which is a quick effect, banish 2 spells from your grave, negate that effect. If this card is destroyed by battle or card effect is sent to the grave, you can target one of your banished Sky Striker spells added to your hand. I believe the third effect of all 3 are the same. Now, Akis' effect, which is a 5-star Fire Machine, 2400 attack, 200 defense. Her second effect reads if a Link monster or monsters you control would be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can banish the spell from your grave instead. Now I believe Sela's effect, 6-star Water Machine, 2200 attack, 1000 defense. Her second effect reads, you can banish 1 spell from your grave. Give control of this card to your opponent if you do special summon a Sky Striker Ace monster from your grave, which is actually pretty nuts. So they all basically have their own second effect, which makes the deck a little more consistent, and it gives you and it gives you some extra plays because because Hamel plus any of your 3-star tuners, which are obviously the hand traps, you can easily go into a Draco Berserker, Draco Berserker, or a Cypher Little Omega, which is actually pretty nuts. Which is actually pretty nuts because with Omega, if you're banishing, if you banish cards, if you have a bunch of cards banished, then during each of your opponent's standby phases, you can return them back to your graveyard, and you can just instantly recycle them off of the effects of cards like I think what is it? Was it like Area Zero? I think it is or something like that. Yeah, or something like that. Yeah, something. Is it? Is it? It's either that or something else, but still, it's actually pretty nuts. So, you know, and then also too, Sela plus any of the 3-star tuners, you can also go into a level 9 as well, which is pretty nuts. Or if you have Ray and Rose plus the 3-star, you can go into an 11. Or if you have Hamp plus any of the 3-star tuners, you can also go into a level 11. Which so it really doesn't matter what your board looks like. You're gonna end up with a very powerful board and end board at the end of it all. And my brother literally just texted me, so give me 1 second, guys. There we go. So that's actually pretty fucking nuts. And then speaking of hand traps, we have 3 Ash Blossom, 2 Ghost Spell, and 3 Effect Veiler to round out the entire monster lineup. For the spells, we got a nice fuck ton of spells. So first up, we have the one Sky Striker. The one Sky Striker Jamie Waves. This is basically your MST for the whole deck. It's not that good, but if you have three spells, at least 3 more spells in your grave, not only does it act as a MST, it can also act as a trap hole as well, which is not too bad. But obviously Jamie Waves is not as powerful as this next card, which is the 1 Heartbeast Feather Duster, because Feather Duster is 10 times more powerful than Jamie Waves, obviously. Then of course, again, and then of course 2, we got the 1 Fusion Destiny, the 1 Mobilize Engage, which is still in which even at 1, it's still a pretty powerful card to use. Because Engage basically acts as a pot of greed, because not only is it a Rhoda, but if you have 3 or more spells in your grave, you get to draw yet another card. So it's as if you're drawing 2 cards, which is just absolutely insane. Speaking of drawing cards, we have the 1 Metal Foes Fusion, which nobody uses this card in Sky Strikers for the fusion effect. They use it for its other effect, which reads, if this card is in your grave, you can shuffle it into the deck and draw 1 card. This basically just ensures that you don't deck out, which is hilarious. Which is kind of hilarious. Then of course we got the 1 Afterburners. This is basically a reverse Jammy Waves, which is hilarious, because this is basically your trap hole MST. So it's basically It's basically a reverse Jammy Waves, which is kind of hilarious. Then, of course, we got 3 copies of Sky Striker Mobilize Linkage, which linkage is just it's just a house. This card basically lets you tag out. This basically lets you basically lets you tag out one of your cards for a Sky Striker Ace monster from the extra deck, and it lands into the extra monster zone. And the craziest part is that its final effect is pretty nuts, because of the fact that you have Ray and Rose as a light and a dark. The Sky Striker monster you summon gains an additional 1,000 attack, which so in a scenario where you decide to summon Shizuku and you have both Ray and Rose in your graveyard, Shizuku's attack will go up to 2,500, which is just absolutely insane. Then, of course, we got the one call by. Excuse me, because obviously call by is just a fucking house. Then, of course, we have the Shark Cannon, which the 2 copies of the Shark Cannon, which basically acts as a second and third call by, which is pretty cool. But also, it also has another effect where it reads that if you have 3 or more spells in your grave, that you can treat Shark Cannon as a different dimension reincarnation, which DDR is just a house. If you guys have never seen that card, it is absolutely insane. So the effect of DDR reads: discard 1 card that target one of your banished monsters, special summon in attack position, and equip it with this card. When this card leaves the field, destroy that monster. Yeah, it's pretty busted. Pretty busted in my honest opinion. Then, of course, we got the 1 Hornet Drones as a way to like help ensure that you go into, you know, more of your links, which is pretty awesome. Or you can also go into any of your synchro plays if need be. And then, of course, we got the 3 Widow Anchor, because Widow Anchor is just insane. This is basically your imperm slash snatch steal, I guess you could say. So the effect reads: if you control no monsters in your main monster zone, target a face-up effect monster on the field, negate that face-up monster's effects until the end of the turn, and if you have 3 or more spells in your grave, take control of that monster until the end phase. So again, it's an imperm snatch steal, which is absolutely nuts. Then, of course, we got the 1 multi-roll. Multi-roll is actually kind of weird in this deck because of the fact that I think this is the one that you can add cards from the grave back to the hand. So the effect reads: once per turn, you can target 1 other card you control, send that card to the grave, and your opponent cannot activate cards or effects in response to your spell card activations for the rest of the turn, even if this card leaves the field. You can only gain the effect once per turn. Once per turn during the end phase, you can set Sky Striker spells with different names from your graveyard up to the number of Sky Striker spells you activate this turn, while this card was face up on your field, but banish them when they leave the field. So in a scenario where you do have Side-Friendly or Omega, you can just bounce them back into your graveyard, which is really nice. And then to round up the spells, we got 2 copies of Airspace Area 0. This card is just insane. You can target 1 other card you control, excavate the top 3 cards of your deck, and if you do, add an excavated Sky Striker card to your hand, shuffle the rest back into the deck, and if you excavate a Sky Striker card, send the targeted card to the grave. If this card in the field zone is sent to the grave by a card effect, special summon a Sky Striker Ace monster from your deck. You can only use each effect once per turn. So basically this card can help you get into Ray, which can then help you summon out pretty much any of your Sky Striker Ace monsters, which is really nuts. And then to round up the main deck, we have 2 copies of Waking the Dragon as a way to help go into any monsters that you think that you might not be able to summon. Then obviously Waking the Dragon can help you make those monsters, and you can just pop off from there. Now moving on into the extra deck, I'm gonna go from Links to Fusion because obviously it's better to do it that way. First up, we've got the 1 copy of Hayate. This card is actually pretty nuts. You only need 1 though because it's not as good, but it's still pretty decent. So the effect reads that you can special summon Hayate once per turn, and it says that this card can attack directly, and after damage cal, if this card battled, send a Sky Striker card from your deck to your grave. This is basically your Fool's Burial for the whole deck. So in a scenario where you have Hayate on board and you deal damage to your opponent, you can use Hayate's effect, send Rose to your graveyard, and if Hayate were to get destroyed, I believe you can actually summon both Rose and Ray from your grave back to the field, and then you can use Ray's effect to go into the Sky Striker Ace Izela, which I'm going to talk about her effect here in a second. Next up we have Kinda. Kinda's actually kind of a cool one because the effect reads, if this card is special summoned, you can target a face-up monster your opponent controls. It cannot attack until the end of your opponent's turn, and each time you activate a Sky Striker spell, gain 100 life points. Immediately after this effect resolves. You can only special summon Kinda once per turn. So this is actually kind of a cool one because of the fact that you've got Jammy Waves, you got Engage, Afterburners, the three linkage, the 2 Shark Cannon, the 1 Hornet Drones, the 3 Widowmaker, the 1 Multi-Roll, and the 2 Aries Zero. That's 1, 2, 3, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. That's 15. You could potentially gain up to 1,500 life points, which is absolutely nuts. That's pretty crazy. Then of course you've got the 2 Kagari and the 3 Shizuku. They're basically polar opposites of one another in terms of the opponent's in terms of the attack, because with Kagari she gains 100 attack for each spell in your graveyard, and the three Shizuku forces your opponent's monsters to lose 100 attack and defense for each spell in your graveyard, which is actually pretty crazy. But they both have different effects. So Kagari's effect reads that if she's special summoned, you can target a Sky Striker spell in your grave and add it to your hand. Shizuku's effect reads, once per turn during the end phase, if this card was special summoned this turn, you can add a Sky Striker spell from your deck to your hand, with a different name from the cards in your grave. So let's say you have Hornet Drones, you've got drones, Afterbirds, and Jammy Waves in your grave. You can add Engage or Linkage or anything else from your deck to your hand, which is really nice. Then of course we've got the one Zeke, because Zeke is Zeke. So Zeke's effect reads, must be link summon. You can only special summon Zeke once per turn. If this card is link summon, you can target a face-up monster on the field, banish it until your opponent's next end phase, and once per turn, you can target one other card you control. This card gains 1,000 attack, then send the targeted card to the grave. So if you have, So in a scenario where your opponent tries to, activates a card like say Prohibition, and let's say your Widowmaker gets negated all entirely because you can't use it. You can activate Zeke's effect, go into the Widowmaker, and then just or not go into it, but send it to the graveyard and give Zeke a 1,000 attack, which will make it 2,500, and you could just pop off from there, which is really nice. Then of course we got the brand new Sky Striker Ace monster, which is known as Izela, which is a Dark Machine Link 2 with 1,500 attack, and its arrows are top left, bottom right, and it requires 2 light and or dark monsters. So basically you can do 2 light, 2 dark, or you can just mix and match, which is pretty nuts. So her effect reads: must be Link summon. You can only special summon Izela once per turn. If this card is special summon, you can target 1 card on the field, destroy it. Then if you have 3 or less, not more, less spells in your grave, send this card to the grave. Once per turn, at the start of the damage step, if this card battles an opponent's monster, you can banish a spell from your grave, destroy that opponent's monster. This is basically Catastor in a Link monster, because if you guys have never seen Ally of Justice Catastor, Catastor is just a fucking house. At the start of the damage step, if this card battles a face-up non-dark monster, destroy that monster. This card is just a house. This was probably one of the most insane cards of the format when it was first released, because it was just insane. Absolutely insane. So in a scenario where Izela is battling, let's say, I don't know, I'll say Axis Code. Axis Code, I believe, does not negate attacks. Hold on. Excuse me. So basically, Axis Code Talker is a board wipe. So in a scenario where Izela battling an Axis Code Talker, then she basically acts as a Catastor just by banishing a spell from your graveyard. So that's why I chose to run literally 19 spells, because that way if you have like 5 spells or more in your graveyard, Izela's state not only does Izela stay on board, but not only that, it basically just acts as a makeshift Axis Code Talker, which is actually pretty nuts. I have to admit, that's actually a pretty good effect, which is pretty nice. Then, of course, for our Waking the Dragon target, we got, obviously, number 89, Diablosis, the Mind Hacker. This card is just insane. This card is absolutely insane. If you guys have never seen this card before, which I've talked about this card numerous times, but I will read the effects again. It is a rank 7 Dark Psychic Exceeds, 2,800 attack, 1,200 defense, 2 level 7 monsters, so it's generic, but it can be used as a Waken the Dragon target, which is really awesome. And the effect reads: once per turn, you can detach 1 material from this card, look at your opponent's extra deck, and banish 1 monster from it face down. At the end of the battle phase, if this card destroyed a monster by battle, you can target 1 card in your opponent's grave, banish it face down. If a card your opponent owns and possesses is banished face down while you control this card, except during the damage step, you can banish cards from the top of your opponent's deck face down equal to their face down banished cards. So it doubles each turn, and it forces a deck out, which gives you your victory, which is pretty funny. Next up for our level 8 synchros, we got the one Draco Berserker of the Tenny, which basically is a bottomless trap hole, and it can make a second attack during the battle phase, which is really nuts. We got the side frame loader Omega as a way to keep sending cards from your banished pile back into your graveyard. So if you do have, let's say you do have the Izela, you can just keep banishing spells over and over and over again, and it basically acts as your catastrophe, which is pretty awesome. Then for the level 9 synchro target, we got Stellar Wind Wolfrayet. This card is insane. It's a generic tuner non-tuner synchro, and it says you can only control one Stellar Wind Wolfrayet. He gains 300 attack each time another monster's effect is activated, and while the attack of this card is less than 4,000, and once per turn, if this card is 4,000 or higher, which is a quick effect, you can shuffle both this card and all monster board controls into the deck. So this is basically your board wipe for the whole deck. So this card basically just ensures that if you know you have game on board, then Wolfrayet can just wipe out your opponent's board just by sending itself back into the extra deck, which is absolutely nuts. Then of course we got Psychic and Punisher, which is our level 11 target, which is absolutely nuts. The effect reads that while your life points are less than or equal to your opponent's, this synchro summon card is unaffected by your opponent's activated effects. So not even an Axis Code Talker could target Psychic and Punisher and ban and remove it from the board, which is pretty nuts. And the effect also reads that once per turn you can pay 1,000 life points and target a monster you control and a card your opponent controls and banish them, and at the start of the battle phase you can make this card gain attack equal to the difference in your life points and your opponent. So this card this card plus, let's say, you're destroying Phoenix Enforcer, which I am running in the extra. So your board would have to look like Izela, Diablosis, Draco, Cypher Omega, Psychic and Punisher DPE. If you have those monsters on board, that's your board. That's your board. Sure, it may take a few turns because of the fact that all the Skystriker spells, you can't have any monsters in the main monster zone. But as long as you're able to make that board, which consists of Izela with at least 5 spells in your graveyard, number 89, Draco, Omega, Second and Punisher, DPE, and let's say the Omega as a way to to help Izela, become the makeshift catastrophe. If you have all those monsters on board, that's your board. That's basically your board. But for the most part, it's definitely gonna be Izela, number 89, Draco, Omega, Psychic and DPE, or it could be or the Omega could potentially also be the Stellar Wind Wolfrayet, which is pretty nuts. So that's basically your board. If you're able to make that board, your opponent won't be able to do jack shit, which is pretty fucking nuts in my honest opinion. And then of course, as I mentioned, we've got the aforementioned DPE to round out the extra deck. For the side deck, it's a bit different. It's not as different as the last build, but it is slightly different because of the fact that I am now running 3 Ghost Ogre just in case if let's say the some of the cards in the main don't work out and you need more ways to go into your synchro plays, then citing in your Ghost Ogre is actually pretty nuts because it pairs so perfectly with the 3 Ash and the 3 Bell and the 2 Bell, because Ash focuses on the deck, Bell focuses on the graveyard, Ogre focuses on the field, which is pretty nuts. Then of course for the spells we got 2 pot of Avarice, just in case if you have no more monsters in your deck and you need to and you need more monsters, then you can just instantly go, just activate Avarice, shuffle your monster back into your deck, and you get to draw 2 cards. Funny thing is that it's not a once per turn, so you can actually activate both cards if you wanted to. But speaking of once per turns, we have two copies of Pot of Acquisitiveness, which basically acts as a Cypher Omega, but instead of the spells, it's monsters, but it's 3 banished monsters. So let's say you did banish, I'll say Dasher, or Celestial, or any of your monsters. You take them back into your deck, and you get to draw 1 card. So 2, 4. Basically, you're drawing 6 cards. 4 off of the 2 Pot of Avarice, and 2 off of both Acquisitiveness, because you only get to draw 1 card each. So that's actually pretty cool. Then of course we got the Sky Striker Vector Blast. Vector Blast is actually kind of a cool one because I believe this is basically basically a way to just, how can I describe it? You know what? I'll read the effect and tell you what it acts like, if you will. So the effect of Vector Blast reads: if you control no monsters in your main monster zone, each player sends the top 2 cards of their deck to the graveyard, or as many as possible if less than 2. Then if you sent at least one card to the grave and you have 3 or more spells in your grave, shuffle all of your opponent's monsters from the actual monster zones into the deck. So this is basically a back to square one, but with a bit of an added twist, if you will, which is really nice. We got the second Afterburners, which is pretty cool. The one Eagle Booster. Eagle Booster basically is an imperm or no, a forbidden chat. What's that for? Which one is it? I want to see. What is it? Forbidden Lands? I think it is. Yeah. So basically, it's a Forbidden Lands on steroids, which is pretty crazy, which is pretty nuts. And then of course we got the one Hercules base, which is the equip spell, and the effect reads: it says activate this card only if you control no monsters in your main monster zone. Excuse me. The equipped monster cannot attack directly, and it can make a second attack on monsters during each battle phase. So this is basically a second version of Draco Berserker, which is pretty nuts. But it has another effect that reads if the equipped monster destroys a monster by its attack while you have 3 or more spells in your grave, you can draw 1 card. If this card is sent from the field to the graveyard by a card effect, target up to 3 Sky Striker cards in your grave, except this card, shuffle them into the deck. So this basically is Engage on steroids, because Engage, you get to draw 2 cards, one off of the Rhoda effect, and then another one if you have 3 or more spells in your grave. This card is basically that mixed in with Break Draw, which is hilarious. And then to round out the whole deck, in the side deck, we've got two copies of Solemn Strike and 2 copies of Solemn Warning. So all in all, this deck is absolutely pretty crazy, with the additions of obviously the brand new Sky Striker Ace Monster, which basically, again, as I mentioned, is a Catastor. We got obviously you know 1 copy of the 3 new Mages monsters, which basically are Sky Striker cards. These cards are absolutely insane. So if you guys have not checked out the deck, I'll be posting the deck list on my Instagram a little later on today, only because of the fact that it's obviously the holidays, and I got some house cleaning to do. So I'll be posting the list later on my Instagram. Link will be in the description below, as will the rest of my social media. The links will be in the description as well. And that will do it for today's video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure you guys smash the thumbs up button. If you guys are new to the channel, you guys want more deck profiles in the future, subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell so you guys don't miss out. And of course, if you guys want to send fan mail, the info will be in the description as well. And on that, this is your boy Nash, signing out, and happy holidays, everybody.